This is Suspenders Unbuttoned, a podcast where friends talk with friends about TV, movies, and books. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Suspenders Unbuttoned podcast. We are excited today to have a guest we're all looking for. But first, I'm Julie, and
I'm Sarah.
Yay. And I'm Cindy.
Julie, did it throw you off that we're reversed?
It totally threw me off. I'm like, wait a minute.
Be in the moment. It's perfect.
Just work it.
That's right.
It totally threw me off. I was like,
we changed the way we did the intro, and then I was just like, wait.
I love it. Hi, everyone.
Welcome, Cindy.
Thank you. So happy to be here.
We're so thrilled for you to join us today and tell us all about your new movie. So, Julie, you want to start us off?
Sure. So we're excited to talk about your new movie called Marry Me in Yosemite, right?
Yep.
Okay. Can you just give us a little background on this movie?
Sure. Well, the movie was actually shot in Yosemite National Park, which if you haven't heard of it, you might want to tune into this movie. And if you have heard of it, you'll want to tune in to this movie. It's just such a magical space. And it tells the story of Zoe Best, who's a photojournalist played by myself. And Zoe has a bunch of varying books that talk about various areas in the United States, like Zoe's Best of the Midwest and Zoe's Best of, whatever. And she gets the newest assignment to do a book about Yosemite National Park, and goes and meets a guide who's an adventure handsome hunk played by Tyler Harlow. And it becomes a story about discovering things about Yosemite National Park, but most importantly, the history of the park, how it came to become the national park, as well as talking about, indigenous peoples who were first in the park and that whole storyline, which is super important. And Ansel Adams and how he, was such a magnificent photographer and kind of made the park a popular space specifically for people who love photography and love nature, obviously. So it's really a beautiful story that just shows the best of what the park has to offer and then some. And it's just, I just feel so blessed to have been to such a magical place. It really is like one of those places, the moment you arrive, first of all, it's beyond incredibly beautiful, but just there's like an energy there that is undescribable. And it was a lot of fun. There's such great actors in the movie. And this is Tyler's first ever Hallmark movie. And it's also his first lead. So I was very excited for him. And, I kind of kept telling him throughout the shoot, I was like, you better get ready because they're going to love you. And everyone's like, Tyler Harlow. And I was going to be like, just remember, I was your first.
I love that. So shooting in a national park like that, I love that they're bringing in part of the history and you get a learning piece to the movie.
Yes.
I think it helps give some depth to these movies of the week or whatever.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So did you learn anything new when you were getting your
Oh my gosh, I learned so much. And the interesting part is was playing Zoe, who is kind of like how I was, Cindy, of being kind of thrown into the circumstance and not necessarily knowing a lot about the history of the park and how it came to be and the majesticness of it. So I felt like I was discovering it as Zoe was discovering it too, which was really cool. And it feels, obviously, I did my work and my research ahead of time, but there is a sense of truthfulness that I felt like I could bring. And also Tyler actually has been like a guide in some national parks in the United States and has been a climber and is like an adventure kind of seeking sort of guy. So I feel like we all brought something to the storyline that was really authentic to ourselves. And I think that that's really going to make the story even more interesting. But yeah, there's so many, I mean, there's just so much to know and to learn from this movie. And of course, you know, we only had an hour and 40 minutes to tell it, but you know, I think it'll kind of plant seeds for people, for them perhaps to want to learn more and learn more about other national parks. And I feel, and you know, of course, we were able to shoot the movie before all the wildfires and everything that happened just recently in Yosemite. So I feel really grateful for that. And I feel a sense of kind of like attachment to the park, having done that. And, you know, sending so much love and prayers to the people that work there. And, you know, there's just so much incredible work being done there constantly. Conservation and animals. And so, yeah, it was really cool. And yeah, I'm just grateful to be a part of it.
I imagine that being in a national park and filming, were the rules different? Like, did you have to have a whole set of rules on, you know, respecting the environment and all, like the way they let you do things? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. Well, we obviously, I mean, I going into any circumstance, wherever we're shooting, I always come at it from a very respectful space. You know, but obviously this is a more delicate matter because it was a privilege for us to be working and shooting in the national park. We were extra attentive to all of those things. But yeah, so every day we met up with a park ranger. So we always had to have a park ranger with us, which was really helpful because they were such knowledgeable human beings. So anytime we had a question about the park or how things work, and there's so many different types of park rangers, like all the rangers have different jobs that they do regularly. So one of our rangers that we worked with was, he took care of the bears, and he would tag the bears in the park and, you know, follow like the seasons of the bear and making sure that, you know, the bears have a healthy, you know, population, et cetera. And then we had another park ranger that was an archaeologist in the park. Like, it was so fascinating, like things I was just like, wow, this is, and they were fascinated by what we were doing. And I was like, your job is so much cooler. But we were only allowed to be a certain amount. So our crew is minimal. And so everything you're going to see that was actually shot in the park, which was just 2 weeks worth. So there were things that were cheated outside of the park, because we were only allowed, I think it was 10 people, including the actors. So typically a crew can have like up to 50 some odd people, depending on the project. And in this, we were a really, really limited crew. So it was kind of what we call like kind of guerrilla style, where you're like on the move, you know, like just making it happen. But our DP, our director of photography, David, is so talented. Everything is natural light in the park. Like, there's no lighting whatsoever except like a bounce board and like literally a piece of cloth on the ground to help kind of like help the glare and stuff. So it's so cool to be able to do projects like that. Plus you feel like a sense of attachment to the crew because you become super tight and like you become really good friends. And, you know, we were basically like living in the park for 2 weeks. And like I remember telling some people that were like outside the park and being like, oh yeah, I was just in Yosemite, you know, staying there for 2 weeks. And people were like, 2 weeks? What were you doing? Because like people go for like the weekend or whatever. So it was so cool. I can't express how cool it was.
So when you're filming, there's clearly some very iconic things to see in the park. Were they able to capture that while you're shooting? So what are some of the classic things that we can see in the film?
Well, El Capitan, which is probably the most popular place to climb. And the reason I knew about El Capitan was because I saw a documentary about it. It's called Free Solo. I saw it a couple years ago, and it's about this guy who climbs El Capitan without anything, like literally
I've
free
seen it.
solo.
Yep. He goes all Spider-Man up it. Yep.
Yes. And it's like the most fascinating, stressful documentary. He's alive, everyone. Don't worry. But it was
risky.
Oh my gosh. Do not try this at home. Very, very risky. But yeah, so that was cool to see it in real life, and seeing it in real life made me realize just how what he did was even more like intense than I could have ever realized. It's also it's a very slippery climb. So it's one of the hardest ones you can do. It's very, like straight up. It's like almost like marble. So it's a very tough. And if you look up with binoculars, you can actually see the climbers that literally look like ants climbing. And some of them have these hammocks that they can latch onto, and they sleep there. And I was like, I'm so scared of it. Yeah. And then, of course, someone mentioned here Half Dome, which is unbelievable. And that is a huge story arc in our story, in the movie Half Dome, which has there's kind of like a fable and a story of sorts, where there's this woman that is crying on the side of the mountain, and you can see it, and it's really it's unbelievable. You're just like, wow, like how is this here? It really looks like a woman crying, and it's really cool. And then of course there's Mirror Lake and Yosemite Falls, and I mean there's so many things, but my favorite thing was every morning we would meet up. There's a tunnel that you drive through, and all of a sudden it's Yosemite Valley, and it's just like, you're like, oh, it takes your breath away. And we would watch the sunrise there every morning. That's where we would wait for our park ranger. And photographers come from all around the world. Like every morning there'd be at least 20 photographers waiting to capture that perfect photo. It was really cool.
Bucket list for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Sounds magical.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Julie, did you want to ask?
No, I'm just thinking, you bring your coffee, you just sit there every day, and you think, someday I'm not going to get to do this some morning, but right now.
I know. I really do try to take those moments in, but it's amazing how fast they go, and you try not to take anything for granted, because, time is so short. It feels long in the moments, but then you realize how short the moments are. And so I definitely had moments where I'd have to pinch myself, and Tyler and I would look at each other and we'd be like, where are we right now? Like, what is happening?
Amazing.
It was so cool.
We just got back from North Carolina, and we saw some of the mountains there. And just even that, I kept saying to my husband, I forget how beautiful America is. You get like stuck in your grind at home and work and whatever, and you always think, oh, I want to travel, and then you just forget like what's near you and how beautiful it actually is. So I'm glad
we're better traveled elsewhere than our own, where we live, right? So.
Right. Gosh, did you see any fun animals while you were filming?
Yeah, we saw some bears. Yeah, actually, I think our first day of shooting, when we were with our park ranger, that was specifically like his specialty was bears.
Yeah.
So we actually saw a bear, and the bear was pretty close. Like I didn't feel scared, but I definitely felt like my heart started beating a little bit faster. But the bear was pretty close. It was probably like, I don't know, like 40 feet away. And so the
close.
Very close.
Today I was watching the movie, what is it, Chasing Waterfalls?
Yes.
And you held up the backpack and you were screaming for the bear.
There may or may not be a bear in this movie. Just saying. I have a thing for bears, apparently.
We'll just start looking for the bear in every movie you do from now on.
Yes, that's right. I always request some form of animal in everything I do. Someone said, how did we shoot at night?
Yeah.
We did not shoot at night in the park. We never did. We always got there as the sun was rising, and we always left as the sun was setting. And we did stay in the park. We stayed at these cabins called the Redwoods in the park. Yeah.
Sounds lovely.
Yeah.
So when you're, do you have like a favorite moment in the movie or a favorite part of the movie?
Oof. It's tough. I don't know. I feel like there's so many incredible moments, but I really had a lot of fun with Tyler. Like it was just getting to work with him. We had such a great rapport. He is hilarious and we have such great banter together. But there is one scene when we're laying by this river and we kind of like have a picnic going and the sun is like perfect sun, that golden hour. And the mountains are all around us and the river is there and then the forest. And we're just like, we just look like we were just dropped here. And it's just absolutely stunning. And I remember seeing some of it when I went in to do some audio work.
Right.
And I was just like, this doesn't even look real. Like it doesn't look real. And to think of just the beauty that is like, just again, Mother Nature at its finest. And we're just like these actors in the middle of it all, like somehow, so that scene is pretty amazing. There's also a really amazing, a very short scene, but where Tyler is fly fishing in the river, and I kind of disrupt him, which is a funny moment. And he's actually done fly fishing before, so that was like, it's just so beautiful. It's a very like river runs through it kind of vibe, and there's a lot. There's just so many good moments. I feel like we're not the main attraction. The park is the main attraction.
I love that you got to shoot in a national park. That's just like a fantastic choice, and to bring all those pieces that of the park in will bring viewers into like maybe thinking about visiting the park.
Totally, absolutely. And what was cool about it too is, it wasn't like a fancy experience. Like we were, we didn't have trailers. We didn't have like bathrooms. Like we were using the public, bathroom. We were getting our makeup done like on the side of a hiking trail or like in the back of a SUV. Like, you know what I mean? And there's something like really cool about that, where it was just people getting together and doing like a passion project that is going to be so awesome. And I feel like you don't really get those opportunities very often. And some people, wouldn't really be into that, and that's fine. And, they made sure to tell me ahead of time, like, look, this isn't going to be fancy. It's going to be roughing it, this and that. And I was just like, I feel like I'm good with that. And I was like, it made it again, like that much more special. And I just felt like really connected to the people we were working with.
I think everything you tell me, this sounds amazing to me. I'd be the grunt person on this project. I'm like, what do you need? What can I get you?
Right.
I'm like, this is like very much up my alley. I'm like, I would have signed up for sure for that.
Yeah, no, it definitely was. It was awesome.
Yeah, that sounds amazing.
And then we also had one day where we had kind of like a group outing. So there was like a brewery. So after we left the park, we shot in a town just outside called Oakhurst, which is a beautiful town in the mountains as well. And they have this incredible theater in Oakhurst. And we went and saw Shrek the Musical as like a cast and crew. It was so good. And we had such a great time. And we were so supportive like the whole time. Like we were all laughing and cheering and like, and yeah, it was such a fun thing to kind of get out of like what we were doing and supporting. And they were so talented. Like they did such an incredible job. And this is like a local theater, you know, and it was so great. We had a blast.
I love that you guys went to local theater.
Yeah, I know. It was kind of like an impromptu thing. And and our producer Kate and Robert, like they got us all the tickets, and we went and saw it, and we were all like, I guess we're gonna go see Shrek. And you kind of think like, oh, it's gonna be a kid musical, but like it's not.
I'm like, have you never seen Shrek? It's fantastic. It's
I know, yeah. I mean, it had been a while, but
that musical is spectacular.
Yeah.
The musical.
It's hilarious.
Yeah, I do love a musical.
If you can get a good Lord Farquaad, that musical is
was the best part.
They've got to have a good Lord Farquaad. We have some amazing community theater that walks like the edge of. We do a lot of professionals in and out in where I'm at, and so it's always amazing. And oh gosh, they did Shrek not long ago, and the Lord Farquaad was spectacular.
Yes,
That's so fun. You guys did that as a cast.
Yeah, totally.
Questions about Zoe, your character. Is she like you? Different than you?
I definitely brought myself into it, in that she kind of like doesn't really take no for an answer. You know, she's a little bit like very energetic and wants to get the job done, but she's also very very like empathetic and wants to learn and wants to do good and wants to, you know, be truthful to the story and show the story for what it is as like a journalist, and tell a story through her photos. And I just love that about Zoe Best's character, is just like she's humbled by, you know, the history of Yosemite and, you know, with the indigenous peoples, and wants to learn and wants to know. And I think that that's a really beautiful thing, when we can just sit back and learn about things we don't know and could know more about. And I think for me, it was a really great learning experience. And I love that about the character. And I love that she's just like an outgoing kind of spitfire who is going to find a way to make something work. And I definitely can relate to that, where I don't allow things to get me down. I understand that things sometimes don't work out, but I also have a lot of faith in them working out, perhaps in a different way, and maybe not the way that I envisioned. But I think that there's always like a greater plan. And I'll be there waiting for it to happen.
I love that. So who wrote the screenplay that brought us like a learning piece to this movie?
Yeah, so the writer is actually the director of the movie. So Bruce Johnson, he's actually written a couple other scripts as well. But this is his first directing opportunity, job, however you'd like to call it. But he's been in the industry for a really long time, producing, doing all that. So it was cool, you know, to be with the person who brought the story to life. And you know, it was really cool to watch him, because he was constantly just like a kid in the candy store, like just seeing his vision come to life, you know. And I just, and oftentimes we'd be like, oh, this is like even better than I thought. Or, you know, like, thank you for like, you know, doing justice to Zoe. And like, you just really brought her to life. And, you know, whatever it was, like, it was cool to see his excitement about it. And because oftentimes we don't necessarily get to meet the writers of the movies that we're a part of, other than maybe like social media or whatever. So that was really cool. And yeah, it was just such a fantastic crew. Like everyone worked like triple time, you know. And I really have to give a lot of praise to the cast, but most of all the crew, because they worked so hard, and they worked together because they were a very limited amount of people, and they really showed up, and they really did an amazing job. And you know, sometimes I feel like they don't get enough credit. It's so easy to give the credit to the people we see on the screen,
right. Yeah.
And I really have to you know, send so much love to them, and David and Reed and Justin and Ashley and all. They're just like unbelievable. And yeah, I'm just grateful that they made us look good.
We love talking to the people that, you know, kind of make it work.
Yeah.
To all of them. So
I love
I'm glad you said that.
Yeah.
It's just fascinating to learn how many different people are behind the scenes and how all the puzzles work together.
Oh yeah, it's so much work. And like my husband is a producer, and I feel like since we've known each other, I've always had an appreciation coming from theater of like all aspects of
Yeah.
the industry, but being married to him has really like opened up my eyes and my heart to, you know,
Right.
all of the functions. And we're really like almost like the last part of it all. Like the upswing that creates
Right.
it is so much greater than things we'll ever see. Which is amazing. And I'm super grateful.
I love
I
that.
love that. All those pieces to the puzzle make it better.
So you know, we know you're no stranger to making these Hallmark movies. So other than the location, what is something you think really stands out about this particular film compared to others you've done?
I mean, I really think, well, other than the location, I think that my co-star Tyler is incredible. I'm so, again, I can't speak, like I can't say good enough things about him. He's just such a wonderful human who really has worked really hard and is just just a good human being.
Yeah.
And we laughed so much. I mean, we quoted everything from Dumb and Dumber to Ace Ventura to like all of the things to keep us sane in the madness of it all. And like we've grown to be like really good friends. And, you know, and we also have Lexi and Tim Halpin in the movie and Harris. And like the cast is just, it's a very small cast, but I feel like everyone really shows up. And everyone really brought something special. And like when people, I guess for me as an actor, the thing that I really look for when I'm working with someone is like, am I interested in what you're telling me? And you're going to keep telling me, and the storytelling that you're telling me when we're working together. And I got to say, like every time the other actors were talking, it was like the first time for me. And I thought that was so special. And I really hope that conveys to the audience, because that was really cool for me to be a part of. And I also really like about it that it's like our movie is like not fancy, you know what I mean? But like in a cool way, it's like it's not about fancy costumes and like hair and makeup. And again, no judgment on that, because I really do appreciate that too.
Right.
But it's very like simple in that regard, because it's about the story and it's about the national park. And I like that. That we're doing like something different. And similarly in a way to, you know, Chasing Waterfalls was kind of like that too. When you're in a nature driven movie, it's not about the glamour, it's about the other stuff. And
right. Also, if you were all glamorous, it would not feel correct, right?
Yeah.
It would feel just really wrong.
Weird.
Yeah, absolutely.
You have perfectly curled hair.
Right.
Yeah, totally. Right. No, I had straight hair in this movie. It's a lot easier for everyone.
For sure. All right, I'm having like a major thunderstorm out the window, so if you're hearing anything, we're fine. We're fine.
You hear it saying, Julie?
No, nothing.
We knew it was coming. It was the red was on the radar before this. But there it is. So when you look back on this film, what's the thing that you'll remember the most about it?
Honestly, the thing I'll remember the most about it is the memories I made while making the movie with the people I made the movie with. I was really, you know, once in a while you're a part of a movie that when you say goodbye, you feel quite heartbroken, because you do, you know, you work with people for 3 weeks, or you know 4 weeks if you count prep and everything, and you become so attached to these people. You're with them more than you're with anybody else in your life during that unique period of time. and then you don't really see each other really again, for the most part. And so I feel like this was one of those movies where like I had a bit of a grieving moment, like in my heart. I was like, I don't want to leave. So yeah, that was tough, but
It's
I
like
definitely was
you
excited
went to summer
to see
camp or something, and
Yes,
then
I was just gonna say that.
in that bond, and
And then you go to leave, parent pickup, and you're like,
Yes, absolutely. And then I think that happens a lot when you're shooting something where everyone is away from home. Like there's something about that, like
Right.
summer camp where you're not going home to your family and you get to
Mm-hmm.
disconnect from the project. You're literally like connected the whole time.
Yeah.
That happened when I did, Royal Hearts. That happened when I did Hearts Down Under in Australia. Like because I was away from home, there's something like that much more special about it. Not that I don't love I love sleeping in my bed at night, but there's something like cool about being away, and
It changes
yeah,
the experience. Yeah.
yeah, totally, yeah.
Definitely. Okay, so let's shift gears a little and let's talk a little bit about Autumn Stables, because obviously, we also run a Kevin McGarry fan group on the side.
I know. I'm every time I'm like hit with all these like Kevin McGarry like love situations, I'm like, wait a minute, where am I right now? And I'm like, oh, that's the story. I love it.
So this movie is definitely
I
a
get
favorite.
Yeah, so I get it.
So actually that's how we got in touch, because of this movie, and we were talking to the director, Andrew Simic, and you shared it and we reached out. So we had a few questions from our followers about that, and the number one question I got was that you riding in on the opening scene?
It was me for some of it. They did have me kind of like at the fast part of me writing it wasn't me. We like to leave those to the professionals, mostly because even if I can ride, but I'm not like, I would not consider myself like a professional rider or anything like that. So they typically, when you are shooting, even if you are a really great writer, like when I was on Heartland, Amber is an incredible writer, but they wouldn't let her do a lot of the stuff, just because if something were to happen, which anything can, then you're kind of like screwed for a little while, So that wasn't me. That was an amazing stunt person, and I'm very grateful to them for that. But yeah, I was only on the kind of like last leg of it.
I love it.
Yeah, love that. Well, the reason we actually went deep down that discussion was we started talking about how that movie has magic in it, and we were talking before we came on that there's something about that movie, and people are connecting. Tell us like what you think about why people connect to that movie so much.
Well, I think that there's something about I think as an audience, personally, I love to watch stories that I can kind of like put myself in the driver's seat, and with Autumn Stables, there's something about what we were saying, like about loss, and how do we grieve, and how do we get past the grief, and do we get past the grief, and how do we not necessarily like get over it, but how do we learn to live with it, and how do we learn to grow beyond that experience of losing someone near and dear to our hearts. And life is such an interesting experience because death is inevitable. It's just a matter of when and how and where, and so it's kind of about a woman who learns to kind of grow through that and not lose herself in it, because I think a lot of times in the grief we can lose ourselves and we can forget about our life. We get stuck in that moment of the loss, and we have to learn to grow from it and not forget about it, but to I guess like cherish that, but then also allow someone else to love us and know that there's always like a divine purpose for everything. And you know, I think that was like a really beautiful story of that. And somehow I feel like there's not enough of that, perhaps.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I don't know. Not that, you know, we need to be, and I think the thing that people love about these movies is we want to feel good. You know,
Yeah.
life is hard enough as it is. We want to just feel good, and we want movies to be predictable. But this movie had all that humanity in it. And I think that that's the difference. It was like, Andrew said it super well in his interview with you, which was there was a magic from the get-go, whether it was behind the camera or in front of the camera. Everyone that came together, like, just like had like a spark together, and we just like brought this thing to life. And that's another project that was really small. Like the crew was small, the cast was small, and we just got along, and there was humor, you know. And I think it had all of what's best about life is how humor allows us to heal, and how sadness allows us to heal, and how, you know, challenge allows us to heal. We need to have the challenge to grow and be better and do better. And that's like a perfect example of it, I think.
So one of the things I love about that movie is you're a young woman who's lost her husband, not an old woman, and you played that so beautifully. You played a young woman who lost her husband, and that is a different story than someone who's had a long marriage. And I appreciate it. And there's one scene in there that is kind of lighthearted. Well, it starts out, your character comes out and is yelling at Jake, which is Kevin's character. But the PJs, who the costuming nailed the PJs. It's young woman's PJs. It's also a young woman. I don't care. I'm wearing my flannel, whatever, rainbow and unicorn bottoms and a casual top. That's exactly what young women wear right now. If you're just hanging out at your house, like that was it was so very real. And then everyone knew she was going to be angry because everyone knew, like, the setup was there. We knew we were going to be angry that he's painting the gazebo or whatever. And so I loved all the pieces that they brought. The whole story came through with a young woman's perspective, and then just the humor. And at the end, as you're walking away, Jake, that's played by Kevin, says, "Nice PJs," right? Because everyone's thinking it the whole time. Like, so it's just like so many things happened there that just like made that whole scene so perfect. Just like your acting I just love that you stayed on point for a young woman in grief, and that just always stuck out for me. And then just like everything nailed it. The costuming, it nailed it. The light parts nailed it, because you had to Kevin's character had to say nice PJs because we're all thinking it, and costuming just nailed it with the right PJs.
I mean, that's the thing about humanity, right? Like, humanity, I was just like talking about this yesterday with one of my girlfriends. I was recounting like a challenging moment I had with my husband. And like, in the moment I felt like so serious about it, and I was like, I know that like this is the thing and blah, blah, blah. And then when I was recounting the moment to my friend, she started laughing. She's like, "I'm so sorry." She's like, "I don't think it's funny, but the idea of it is funny." And then in that moment, I was like, you know what? Like, it is funny, because sometimes in the moment we're so serious about things, but then when we think about it, it's like, guys, life is really
like doesn't really matter.
Like fundamentally, like for the most part, it is what it is, but we get so like locked into that. And so I think when people like call out the honesty in something, people appreciate that, because it's like, we're not trying to take ourselves too seriously here. Like, life it has duality. It has like unfortunate and it has fortunate. It has good, it has bad, it has all of the things, right? And I love that moment too. That's one of my favorite moments.
Because it's like, everyone talks about the scene that's cut when it's currently airing on GAC, but everyone's like, they shouldn't cut that scene. The one in the stable is so important to that storyline. And anyone, I always say, it's the Heartland scene that everyone who's seen Heartland knows. You can't mess with the horses.
Yes, no, you can't.
And they don't show it currently because I don't know why. It's too much strife or something, but it's so pivotal for the movie. So everyone talks about that scene, and I'm always like, it's actually the summary of all the scenes that stay on point, and that makes that, it adds to the magic of that movie. It's all of those pieces along the way, and then just to talk to Andrew Simic too, and hear him talk about the gazebo and about him buying it and transferring it. It's so cool. And so when I rewatched it just recently, knowing you were going to come on, because he talked about how there's moss on the roof and he like didn't want it to come off.
Totally.
There's Andrew's moss.
You know, when he told that story, I actually felt like I was hearing it for the first time. So I was excited about that, because I feel like I knew that he had bought it, but I didn't really hear about like wanting it to stay as it was and stuff. So that was really cool. I
love that story too. And then when I rewatched them, like, look there, and it's like now Andrew's moss. It'll forever be Andrew's moss. It didn't come off.
Yeah,
that's
totally.
Do you have another favorite scene other than the PJ scene that you remember? I know it's been so long too since you actually filmed.
You know, it has been, and quite frankly, I would love to rewatch it because it's been a hot minute since I've seen it. And actually, I don't think my husband's seen it, and I feel like he's super supportive and like watches all the movies like on the premiere night with me and gets me like a bottle of champagne and is like he's just the best. But yeah, I'd love to rewatch it. I'd love for him to see that one because it is like one of my favorites for sure. But I do remember specifically so you know when Jake comes over for the dinner and then you know we lose electricity.
Yeah.
So I remember when we were making that, like, I think it was like the dinner montage scene where we're like prepping dinner. So Kevin and I don't know if you've heard this, but Kevin and I were it was like a night shoot. So we were like super giggly and like super like losing our minds. It was probably like 3 a.m. And we were just cooking and doing all this stuff and chopping things. And it like, we were just if you saw what was in the pot we were stirring, it was sick. It was so disgusting. It was just like dried pasta and like tomatoes and like maple syrup and like it was like a goulash of sorts of just like, and we were just like, and we're like, oh yeah, do you like that? Absolutely. And I was like, here, try this, and he'd be like, I don't want to, but okay.
It's so funny that you're saying that because
funny. It was so like what we were actually doing and saying were so different from the montage, like actual sequence. And we were like,
when I just watched it, I was like, what are they doing during this? You can tell you're having way too much fun. And I've seen it many times actually before, but I just was, you know, after talking to Andrew, had like a different eye that I was watching for some different things. And during that montage, I'm like, what are they? They're having so much fun.
Yeah, we were a giggly mess, and we were like kids kind of goofing off and having a good time. And
the 3 a.m. seems like perfect now that you say that. I'm like, yep, that's when that was filmed for sure.
Well, I don't remember. I mean, I was already like so in love with Kevin McGarry at that point, like just like adore him, because I just remember being like, similarly actually to Tyler Harlow in Marry Me in Yosemite, two people that like instantly when I met them, I was just like, this person is like my people. Mm-hmm. So funny, so down to earth, such a good actor, mostly funny. Like I just love people that like don't take life so seriously, and they know when to be serious, but they also know when to just have a good time and realize that like we can just enjoy and it's all good, you know, and my kind of similar humors and yeah, so I just adored him, and that was one of those moments where I remember being like, man, I just love this guy. Why can't we do this?
Especially if we're going to be shooting at 3 a.m. Let's have some fun.
Totally.
So, Cindy, I've heard you say in a few other podcasts that you got into acting late in the game. Did you do something before you started acting?
Well, I guess when I say late in the game, I mean, like, I didn't start like as a
Child
child actor,
actor.
you know, like I didn't, like, I have a lot of friends who started like in commercials when they were younger, like when they were like 5 or so. I never did that. I was in the elementary school plays at grade 5 and grade
Yeah.
6, and then in theater in high school. But my first ever role, I was in theater school. I think I was like 20. 19, 20. So
Okay.
I guess that's what I mean by later in the game. Like I didn't start off as like a child. And in the acting world, that is kind of late in the game, even though like typically in any other job, you clearly start in your mid to late
Right.
20s.
Right.
So I had so many jobs growing up, like while I was in theater school. Well, in the summers I could have jobs. And then after I graduated theater school, it took a little while, you know, for my career to kind of like take off, as most do. Like it takes time.
Yeah.
But I worked at a place called Space Camp Canada, just outside of Montreal, where I grew up. Yes, exactly. I was a tour guide in the Space Science Center. Yeah, that's right.
Perfect.
Yeah, it was really cool. I worked there for a couple of years. And I learned so much about so much. And then I also worked in restaurants. I worked in, you know, at the mall growing up in high school, which that was never for me. I actually loved working in restaurants. Like I love the fast pace of it. And in fact, recently, funny enough, and it's been a while since I've worked in a restaurant, which I'm grateful for. But I've had like serving nightmares. Like,
oh yeah, like you're in the lead.
There's like a thing for anyone out there who's listening. It's a thing, as you know. And same thing happens. So imagine a serving nightmare, but for like acting. So the same thing happens where it's like you show up on set, you never read the script, you don't know your lines, you don't know who you're working with. Someone, okay, and action. And you're like, wait, what are we doing? I don't know. And like serving, it's like you're getting sat 15 tables. You took their order, but it's not written on the page. You don't remember what you wrote. Bop bop bop. So it's an interesting correlation between
that is very interesting, because I put myself through college waitressing and bartending, and you know, it's been forever. And I will occasionally, usually when you're stressed out about something, or when your mind is like really working on something else, you just have that random dream where you're just completely in the weeds. Like there's too many tables, there's no food, everybody's mad at you. Yeah.
But I always say, I feel like everyone should have worked in like customer service
100%.
at one point, because you have such an appreciation for it, and especially when it's done well.
Yeah.
And I certainly, I mean, I enjoy the restaurant industry so much because I love going to the restaurant, and I love it all. So thank you to all those out there.
I never did that. Never did that. I only have math. I was unprepared for a math test nightmare, but that's.
Do you have like ICU nightmares, Julie?
Huh?
Do you have like ICU nightmares? Like, do you?
Oh no,
like,
the ICU is comfortable to me, but I'm prepared for a test, right? Which is why I would like to be at space camp. I'm like, space camp.
It was cool.
Yeah, I totally would have done space camp as a summer job. That would have been amazing. So where did you go to school for theater?
I went to Dawson College in Montreal. Their theater program is a 3-year program. It's called the Dome Theater. That's like the theater. You know, anyone who's graduated from the program calls themselves domies. Okay. And I graduated after 3 years. I feel very proud of that. It was a very difficult program, like to the point where typically in the first year, there's like, you know, like maybe 85 people. And then by the end, there's like only like 25 that graduate, sort of thing. So it's definitely a difficult, rigorous program where it really prepares you actually for the industry, because as most people know, like it's like, you know, 14, 15-hour days, and, it's a lot going on. But what was fun about it is, we were focused on the acting portion, but we also did a lot of like crew work. So when you were in third year, the first and second years would do the crew work for the third year plays.
Okay.
And then when you were in second year, you would have to do crew work for the third years. And then you'd also do your own plays, and you'd have your school load as well. So it was a lot of work, but it was, I mean, I don't even know how I got through that. Honestly, like it was intense, but it was so worth it. And I had the most incredible time doing it. It was, I definitely learned a lot about myself mostly.
Yeah.
What was your favorite thing you did when you were there?
There was a thing in second year that we had to do at part of our movement class called Dances Through the Ages. And it was something that we had to work on, I think for an entire semester, where we literally had to go from 1900s to today and mark, like through dance, singing, acting, everything, mark all of like the biggest world events, whether it be like, a famous movie or a famous political experience or war or whatever. But it was all like tidbit moments that would flow. And it was like basically a huge play that you put on that all the students wrote and created themselves.
Yeah.
It was incredible and insane. Like it was so, but it was probably total, like it probably was like an hour and a half. Like we just created it top to bottom. It was unbelievable.
But the amount that you learned doing that, you learned how many different dance styles. Like if you're doing theater at all, you need all those different backgrounds, some exposure at least, and you've had to research them, put them into your play, and perform them. That's a great learning experience. Like
it was really cool. Like I learned so many things that I did not know because, as a young, late teens, early 20s person, there's so many things about history, about arts or anything that I just didn't know yet, so I definitely learned a lot, and we had a good time. It was those are the years you kind of look back and you're like, gosh, that was like, again, talking about how moments are so quick and yet feel like a lifetime. That's how that feels. Only anyone who was there with me at that moment will ever truly understand. And that's pretty special.
It is.
Yeah.
Gosh, now you've got me thinking about college.
Totally.
How did I do all that? What did you have a favorite thing you liked to do, like when you had to do the crew work? Is there something behind the scenes that you enjoyed?
Yes, I did. I actually, and to this day, it still sticks with me, is props. Props have always been a huge thing for me. I think props are they can really make or break a scene. They can really help an actor in the moment. And I also feel like I often oftentimes like an actual prop master on set now will be like, hey, Cindy, it's okay. Like I can do that. Like I'll reset my own props. Like I'll do like the whole thing. They're like, no, Cindy, like that's my job. And I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah, totally. And like to this day, that's still a thing that I do and I love. And, and I appreciate because, and I gotta say, like on some shows that are very prop heavy, I have so much appreciation if I watch the movie or I'm a part of it, because sometimes it's only one or two people resetting. Like every time you do a take, they're resetting everything, even if like, especially if there's like food or anything like that. And like, I just appreciate that so much. And so I do try to help as, because some projects, like the person is just running around and they're doing the best they can. And so I do try to help if I can, if it's not too much on me. Of course I have to stay in the moment, but yeah, the props was always something that I really enjoyed. And I don't know why, but probably
because it gives
everything's got a place and everything is orderly.
I like, because I can see it from just talking to you. you like the orderliness of it, but it also gives depth, and it also gives you something to do.
Yeah.
And so it's like all of those pieces together make props really good.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
And props can prompt you as an actor. So like,
Oh
right,
yeah, totally. Absolutely. Yeah.
make things up. It's so funny because Andrew Walker too likes himself some props. When we were talking to hashtag bad.
Maybe it's a Montreal thing. He's from
Maybe.
Montreal. Like, I don't know. Maybe it's in the
So
water.
if the two of you ever shoot anything together, there'll have to be like a prop scene where you can just go all the way across and shoot continuously and go from prop to prop to prop to prop.
Oh, yeah. Actually, one of my favorite things when I was shooting Heartland, for anyone who's watched Heartland, when my character Ashley used to work at Maggie's Diner,
Yes.
like there were some scenes where I would just be like picking up the plates, bringing to the bag, giving the check, giving the the water, boop boop boop, and I love those scenes because in those scenes when there's that much action, I mean, the last thing you're thinking about is like what you're saying and how you're saying it because it just feels so real. Because in life, people are folding laundry while they're talking. They're like cleaning up the table. They're doing the dishes. They're doing, whatever. And yes, sometimes like a scene where we're just sipping on coffee talking, that's a thing too. But I always like kind of like the walk and talks, the action scenes. I feel like they always have like a really strong energy that sometimes other scenes don't have.
They have a rhythm to them. Plus, in Maggie's Diner, like you have the whole the counter and all the stuff behind you. You have all that. I just recently sent my mother down that rabbit hole. Yes. She started she starts texting me. She's like, Cindy's a mean girl, and she's so young.
I know, but good news is Ashley redeems herself throughout the show, which feels really cool because like, in the movies that I'm a part of now, which is amazing, but you don't have as much time to create like the storyline. Whereas like being a part of a series, that's one of the things I love the most is you have so much opportunity to grow a character, really make them three-dimensional, really show different facets of the human being that they are, because, in life, we're not just one thing, we're so many things depending on the scenario that we're given and we're a part of. So that was so fun to get to play her. That's the best. It was amazing.
We did have an Ashley question. Somebody asked, what do you think she would be doing now?
Well, I can't say that I've never thought of that because I have, because so many people ask me constantly, will you be back on Heartland? And I gotta say, like, for anyone who's gonna ask that question, I would totally say yes to going back to the show. Like, I just would, because it was such a huge part of my life. It changed my life in so many ways. I'm forever grateful to that character and what it brought to my life at that time. And it's like the gift that keeps on giving even today. Like a lot of people watch me on Hallmark because they've seen me in Heartland. You know what I mean? So that's so cool. And I'm so grateful for that. But yeah, I definitely would love to go back and do that. But I guess she went to law school. Yeah. So I'm assuming she probably owns her own firm because she's kind of like knows what's up. And she would not probably take anything from anyone except from herself. So she would probably run the show. I think she'd probably be married. Maybe. I feel like if she would have a kid, she'd probably only have one. Because I feel like she's a very determined human. But I think that, there's a lot of softness. There's a lot of aspects of Ashley that I personally can, obviously all characters are a facet of myself. Like otherwise I wouldn't be able to bring them to life the way I do. But the thing I love the most about her is, and I can relate to this, is Ashley has this kind of like, she's had to deal with a lot of things, like with her mom and her dad, not being around. And so she kind of has a hard facet of protection for herself, but she's really just like a softie inside. And I've definitely been, you know, personally, I can attest to sometimes having that hard exterior, even though, you know, it doesn't show right now, of just kind of, it's like a protection, you know, of it's a form of survival, if you would. And, but really just like wanting to be loved and appreciated fundamentally, which is what life is about as humans. So, could she come back single and meet Mitch? If he comes back.
There we go.
Hey, she also might be divorced. Like, I don't know. Or she might never have been married and was like, I don't have time for that. And I also don't want someone to try to get all my money. Like, I don't know.
Right. Mitch got dumped. He's out too. Lou dumped Mitch. So, you know, because you and Kevin were actually not on Heartland together, right?
I know. That's why it was cool when we got to work together, because we were like two Heartland people, you know. But it's like, yeah, but we never worked together. So, but it was cool because then, you know, we got to kind of do that for all the Heartland fans. So that was cool.
Yeah, that's cool. I feel like Ashley would still pull in with the hot Ash. Still, yeah, right. Still gonna say hot Ash.
Yeah, with a different car. I don't know what it would be.
No. Not the
I've been
Barbie car.
following you on Instagram since your handle was Hot Ash.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, Hot Ash 18 was my yeah. That's how I started. For anyone who's been following me for a long time, but then at one point, I think it was maybe my team. They were like, you might want to go like a bit more professional on this one. And I was like,
I still like, where's the hot Ash?
But I was disappointed that I couldn't even I had to do Cindy _Busby because somebody already had at Cindy Busby. So I missed my opportunity with that.
It's still always hot Ash. When it was literally like 11:30 at night when I get the text from my mom, hot Ash. And I'm like, I know where you are now in Heartland.
Yes, I know. I'm kind of disappointed I never got to keep that license plate. I feel like at Christmas Con just 2 weeks ago, someone asked me, they're like, is there like something you wish you kept from set? And at the time I had said the dress from Unleashing Mr. Darcy, the one that I wore at the ball, because that dress is so iconic. And I wish I would have kept it and maybe like auctioned it off for charity or something. Because I mean, when am I going to wear that? But and it was huge, and it would take up like half my closet. But the license plate for Hot Ash, that would have been awesome to keep.
Okay, the license plate for Hot Ash needs to be hanging behind you on the wall. For it needs to be like right there. Hot Ash.
A necklace out of it, like
it just needs to be like on the wall, like right there. Everyone just the license plate, like up in a garage, but except on your wall.
Respect.
Yes, and there needs
to
be like
you don't want to ruin the beautiful wallpapers.
I know. The wallpaper that almost like broke my husband and I up.
That is the job of wallpaper.
I'm telling you, wallpaper, it brings out the best and the worst in people.
It's the worst. Wallpaper is brutal.
So it's not peel and stick, I imagine, because
it is, but it's tough because my where I live, it's a little bit of an older space, so the walls are not like plaster, so it's not like, so it was a whole thing. But you know what? We're better and we're stronger for it. And I'm grateful for that.
Well, it looks beautiful.
All over wallpaper.
It's come in handy for sure.
Our house is older and we have all like real wallpaper everywhere. Not this, but like scraping that has caused.
Oh yeah, that's a tough job. No, thank you.
My husband will come home to me like peeling it and he's like, what is happening?
Yeah, totally. Oh man.
Don't touch.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, no. Boy, everybody's like, oh, everyone would watch Heartland again.
Yes. I mean, there's so many seasons. Just watch season 1 through 4.
Because that's where you are, right?
That's where I am. And then the rest,
like 16 now or something.
I know, it's so wild. It's so wild.
Your phones are fantastic during your season, like
it reminds you of what it used to be. Like it's so amazing.
You're like, holy buckets, look at that phone.
Totally.
Like a little Nokia or something.
Yes. Like a flip phone. Hey.
Right. I still have my Motorola flip phone downstairs. It was in the kids' dress up bin for a long time.
Yeah.
It's like a brick. It's like a brick house.
You're like, hello? My dad had one of those.
Like the Zach Morris phone.
Yeah, it reminds me like it's like a trapezoid shape with the
Yes,
flip.
absolutely.
It's like the.
Look at us. We've come such a long way.
I know. It doesn't feel that long ago, but I guess it was.
No.
It was.
Now.
Yeah, it could store 10 phone numbers in it. That was huge. 10. All 10. Well, what I need 10 phone numbers for?
Someone else, if I would come back to When Calls the Heart, I would totally come back to When Calls the Heart.
Oh, right.
Yeah, you were Carson's sister-in-law.
Sister-in-law, I know.
She was angry and sad, and then they came around. They came around.
Yeah.
Yeah, that storyline. That one always just like hit too close to home for me. I work in critical care when we do brain tumors, like that's
right.
Yeah, and so we do tons of those, and there are things about that, and I just want to, I wanted to yell at the screen. No, he did the right thing. They just this was the wrong time, but that's how we got to the right time.
Totally.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
No, because the options. So for people who don't know, like operating, she would die either way. So. She would die if you didn't operate. So
the emotions got in the way, it's like
right. No, so it was a great story arc, actually.
It was really fun. I think a lot of people, they saw it and then they recently like went back to it because they're like, wait a minute, that was you. Like they at the time didn't realize that it was me, which is always kind of cool. I'm like, I'm a chameleon.
Well, it's like sometimes people are like, wait, Andrew Walker was in season 1. Wait, he was that guy, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, we've had a lot of seasons too, so
yeah, a lot of seasons, right? And then you just everyone comes trouncing through, at some point in time, right?
Yeah, totally.
So, were you going to ask something, Sarah?
I was going to change it really quick and ask you, Hallmark seems to be doing a lot of these movies where there's like a bigger female cast. So you're having like female leads right now. But who would you want to do a movie with if you were able to kind of have your own little girl gang in one of these films? Who would you pick?
Girl gang.
That's really tough because like there's so many amazing women, truly, like just even being a part of the Christmas con. And I know you guys went to Roma Drama, right?
Yeah.
And there's just so many talented women in this industry, like, and specifically in this genre. I mean, I would love to work with Lacey Chabert. Like, I just think she's such a sweetheart. She's so talented and iconic, and like, I've been a huge fan of hers for as long as I can remember. And so that would be really cool. Who else? I mean, there's so many. Like, I truly. You're asking me now, and I can't even think of anybody. Actually, Rachel Boston. I know she's got a couple movies coming out this weekend. Yeah,
she's got 2 this weekend.
As well. I like her because she has a great like comic timing and that kind of thing. So I really enjoy her. I don't know. There's so many, but I also love. Autumn Reeser. I'm a big fan of. She and I have became friends in the last year, and I she's such a beautiful human being inside and out, and so being a part of that, it's interesting because when the Wedding Veil movies came out, and now I know that they have the new one on Mahogany coming out, which I'm super excited about. Or it already came out. I don't even know what date is, but the point is like I think I've been talking about this, I feel like a while, where I'm like, it'd be cool to have the love story, but have more of a woman driven movie, and the love is the secondary part of it. So that would be, and then they started doing that. So I was like, oh, I want to be a part of something like that. So fingers crossed that something like that could happen, because I think it's really cool. And like, there's a lot of men out there who watch these movies, so I don't want to put them aside, but there's definitely a lot of women that I think would really enjoy that a little bit more of that, and I'd love to be a part of it.
Yeah, I think we love seeing it. One of the things with doing the podcast is we've had the opportunity to connect with a lot of different people. And then when we were at Drama and we could see like really how the friendships that were there, I'm just like, oh no, these people would really love to be able to work together, right? It's fun to see those like friendships play out, and know that all these choices that people are starting to throw around, would work out great, because you get all these actors together that enjoy each other's time, and it could could bring us a little different viewpoint.
Yeah, and Catherine is saying you and Brittany Bristow would be perfect sisters.
Yeah,
I could totally see that.
I've actually never met her, but I've seen like a couple interviews with her recently, and like she seems like a really, really cool chick. And I was like, I feel like we would get along so well. Like I don't even know her, but just from energetically like feeling her and her vibe, I'm just like, I feel like we would totally get along and have a good, and she's super funny, and like so yeah, she would be awesome. Like I don't know, I think anyone who's just like an awesome human, I just want to work with. Like that's kind of where I'm at. I just work with amazing people who are just genuinely awesome and just like love what they do and want to have a good time. And that's kind of like, that's the things that I've been attracting into my life, and just feeling grateful for every step.
Yeah.
Oh, I love the thought of some of these different movie types that could be coming out a little bit out of the set mold, and bringing us as viewers on a different.
Totally.
Right. It's very more engaging, I think, to get something new and see something like that. I know there's like possibly a boys movie like that coming out.
Oh, that's cool.
There's been a lot of hints about it anyways.
Yeah.
I know that like when I did Royal Hearts with James Brolin, and that was like a father-daughter relationship. And I remember a lot of people kind of making notice of that, because there haven't been like a lot of like movies where that's like the primary kind of relationship of a father and a daughter. And I think that's like really, really special, because there are a lot of people out there who do have really important, strong relationships with their dads. And sometimes that's not kind of like highlighted a lot. So I was really happy to have been a part of something like that, which seemed very different at the time.
Yeah, we love actually seeing that stuff as viewers. It's super fun to watch.
Yeah, it is fun. We are definitely over the hour mark, so I'm wondering if you should just skip right to Suspenders or Buttons.
Let's do it.
For so long.
A couple of questions that we want to.
Yeah, I was just looking in the chat to see if they're.
Someone asked about my miniatures collection. I'm obsessed with miniature items and my Christmas miniature village, and that's one of my favorite things. I love them.
So, what's your most recent miniature acquisition? What have you gotten?
I haven't bought anything since Christmas time, so I'll definitely get into that. But what I did get at Christmas, which I was really proud of and excited about, was a house from A Christmas Story.
Yes.
And I also have like the main character of his like tongue stuck to the pole, and like and so the miniature character of him wearing like the bunny outfit.
Yes.
Which I was like, oh yeah. And they also have the Christmas Vacation miniature house with like the cousin who's like pumping the sewage into the trailer. And so that's like something I'm like kind of looking into for this year. So, but yeah.
I feel like you need the leg lamp miniature to go with Ralphie and his bunny outfit.
So the leg lamp is actually in the window of the house, of the
Yes.
house.
As it should be. As it should be. One of my best memories is the first time my family saw that movie. So
Yeah.
my dad essentially grew up the same time period as Ralphie.
Oh
And
yeah.
he like couldn't stop laughing to breathe through the whole movie. And I was, like a middle schooler. I'm trying to remember when we first saw it. I don't even know if it's when it came up, but it was the first time we all saw it. And he could not stop laughing. He could hardly breathe. And then when the leg lamp came out, both my parents were like laughing so hard they were crying, and it took them like 20 minutes to tell me why they were laughing so hard. My uncle shipped the leg lamp to my grandfather from Germany during the war with alcohol in the leg. And so, so when the leg lamp came on, they like literally could not stop laughing.
That is fragile. It's Italian.
Yeah, so we just had to watch like the leg lamp. I'm like, you have to have a leg lamp because it's iconic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My uncle used to have one. I don't think there's something fun in it, but
so iconic. So iconic.
That's a great miniature to have. You're gonna need to post pictures of your miniatures.
I will
Yeah.
definitely.
We'll share them.
Sure.
We'll share them.
Yeah, I take a lot of time and I take great pride in my village landscape. So
where do you put your village? Where do you lay it all out?
It's mostly under my Christmas tree, and I do like different layers. So it's kind of like not a straight list. So it's like the house on the mountaintop and the people skating at the bottom of the hill. And there's a whole method to my madness, but I love it. And it brings me so much joy. And sometimes I'll just like look at it and I don't know why I'm like so obsessed with them, but it makes me feel like gooey inside.
It's perfect. Everyone needs something like that.
Absolutely.
Totally.
Yeah. My kids could ruin it, so
yeah,
I don't do anything like that.
Right, of course. No, I was lucky. Suze, my dog, didn't do anything to it, thankfully.
So fun.
Yeah. All right, let's play a game.
Yeah, let's go.
All right, go ahead, Julie. Start.
All right, so it's just this or that game, really. So we call it suspenders or buttons. Netflix or in the theater. Right.
Oh man, I'm gonna go in the theater just because that's the OG, and I do really love that. But nowadays, I do prefer being at home. But I do love the theater. It's nothing like it.
Right.
Yeah. Haven't been in so long. Okay, would you rather go out to eat or cook at home?
These are hard because I'm kind of like both. But I do prefer cooking at home.
Yeah. So do you prefer to hike or horseback ride?
I'm gonna go with hike. Yeah. Although I love horseback riding, but realistically, I'm gonna go hiking.
Yeah. Right.
Beach or mountains?
Beach or mountains? Ooh.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with beach.
Yeah. Wine or beer?
Wine.
Sarah, do you have your? Yeah, there.
Hey!
Watering. I'm trying to switch to something else to drink. Like I'm trying to get off the wine. Not that I drink a lot, but I'm trying to find.
There's no judgment here. You are in a safe space.
Oh my God. How about this one? Big party or small event?
Small event. I prefer quality over quantity. Yeah.
Love that answer. Love that. Hot coffee or iced coffee?
Hot coffee.
Yeah. Yep. Straight up black or?
I like also room temperature coffee, which I know people are like, ugh, gross. I like coffee in all. I do not discriminate. Coffee in all forms is my friend.
Just pour it into your veins.
Yeah, but I don't like all coffee. See, not all coffee is tasty.
I agree.
Like not all flavors. But I do prefer hot coffee and typically black, but I like cinnamon in it. Or like I'll do like an almond milk or an oat milk if I'm kind of like feeling like I just want a little but I don't like any sweetener. I don't do any. I'm not much of a sweets person.
I'm definitely a sweets person, but in my coffee I don't put anything sweet. But I
Oh,
do put cinnamon every day.
yeah, purist. Yeah, cinnamon.
Milk and cinnamon. Yep.
Yeah.
That's it. Thank you, Cindy, for playing, and
That's
thank you for being here with us.
Did I pass? Did I do?
There's nothing to pass or win. You don't get to win anything either. I know. There should be a prize.
Over here in the comments, Sandra is saying you would be perfect at Rama Drama, and we agree. I think so. Maybe you can.
I hope so. That would be so fun. I would love that. That would be awesome. It looked like you all had a blast from what I saw online.
It's really fun. It's a different type of experience than Christmas Con.
Yeah, for sure. And I must admit, I definitely had a bit of FOMO, like while I was watching everybody's stories. I was like, this looks so fun.
There were so many stories going up. It was kind of fun to see everybody and all the all the talent putting stuff up. That was a lot of fun. But Christmas Con comes and then you're just like, oh my gosh, FOMO, or like
totally.
The mahogany event.
Yeah, totally. And I think like mostly like I mean Christmas Con, I have such a blast. It's so amazing. I just love getting together like with all the people. Like it's just the best. And we have such a great time, and I love connecting with all the people who come to the events and talk, and it's just like I'm exhausted by the end, but my cup is like so full.
Right.
From all the love that is shared, and so it's pretty magical.
So I think I saw you'll be at Christmas Con in New Jersey. Did I just see
that? They shared it. They shared it today, so I'm super excited. I'm excited to go back. I had such an amazing time in New Jersey last year, and I can't wait to go again. It's going to be even bigger than last year, so I can only imagine.
It was big last year. I was there for one day.
Yeah.
A lot of people. But okay, well, we're gonna sign out now. We'll say goodbye in the studio.
Okay.
Oh, what, Julie?
I'm just gonna say, so see Marry Me and Yosemite. Like it is airing on Hallmark on September 3rd. So
8/7 Central. Don't miss it. Mostly don't miss it because A, Yosemite National Park, and B, Tyler Harlow. And then this face, but mostly Tyler Harlow.
I can't wait for the movie. I can't wait for the cinematography to go with it. So everything. So hang out here with the minutes while Catherine pulls us out, and we'll say goodbye.
Thanks everyone for tuning in.
Yeah.